just goes for the horsey instead.
That's kind of what I expect. Hecarim on 11.5 feels to be the #1 jungler that everyone wants to default to. He's got all this damage that he's able to provide while still being incredibly tanky, just because Turbo Chem Tank is able to work so well with this passive to jump onto the squishy members backline. But Udyr probably going to be the lock-in for SofM.
Yeah, so junglers both locked in. I feel like you could have waited on the Udyr for your third pick here and just gone for a really, really strong bot lane 2v2. But with Tristana and the Kaiser taken off the board already, I wouldn't be too surprised. I mean, on the side of WE here, I expect a Thresh Aphelios or Thresh Jinx again to be locked in. Missing looked great on the Thresh. I think it's open. I think you just take it here. The Azir I like for Angel as well, but with the Jinx or Aphelios both available, Thresh available, I think that is just the way forward for WE. And then Suning, I think maybe locking in potentially a support, or perhaps just your AD carry here would be the best way to round out your first phase. I think the support matchup probably going to be the most important.
And I'm curious to see what they opt for, if they go for that supportive role, or if they go for the AD carry, since we know whichever one is not banned is more than likely going to be the lane focused in the bans by Team WE, to try to make it a bit more difficult for Suning.
So aggressive bot lane here from Suning as they lock in the Kalista. This is going to indicate that Suning really, really want to get Huanfeng ahead. They want to win early on, and then they have that late game insurance in that of Angel on the Azir, but also in a lot of matchups mid lane priority. So you can expect them to lock in something like maybe a Nautilus alongside that Kalista. Also, the Jarvan support has been a thing this split. Not so much here in the LPL, but in the LEC that was paired a lot with the Kalista, so maybe that could be something that comes out. We're all taken off the board. You can expect to ban onto something like the Leona or the Nautilus as well, and we'll see where they decide to go in terms of the support role. But Suning, they can just ban out Shanks here. What did we talk about earlier today? Shanks plays the Orianna, he plays the Azir, he plays the Victor. They're all taken off the board. Zoe was the first ban as well. Shanks now pushed to the edge of his champion pool. Where does he go next is the question. Syndra's available, but Syndra has not had a good win rate for them this split. I actually quite liked his Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia was one of the picks that I thought Shanks actually performed pretty well on. And when we think back to what was Shanks hyped for when he first came into the LPL last year, it was that Cassiopeia. So I'd love to see that come out. But again, against this composition, it's not ideal.
I love Blitzcrank. Please lock that in, especially with Kalista. Oh, it's the Jarvan, as you called. You got it right on the money, Munch. It's going to be that Jarvan support.
All right, so the random stab in the dark was correct. Let's go. Now I look like a genius. But yeah, so this is like a weird combo where basically the whole point is at level 6 you have just this insane all-in potential. So the Jarvan support for On, I have no idea how much they've been practicing this. I'm hoping it's a lot, because this is not your traditional bot lane. You definitely have to have some style up your sleeves here. But the Ryze locked in for Shanks, and now a top lane. You have to go blind for that of Breathe. I'm curious where they go. I mean, you could just go with something like, yeah, like Gnar is available. So they just go for Gnar.
It makes sense.
Now Bin gets the counter matchup.
Come on, go with the Aurelia, please. The Aurelia for Bin would be insane. It's one of the classic Bin picks if you look at solo queue and what he likes to play there. It'd be an amazing pick to be able to pair in. Well, Camille is his best, where everyone knows how well Bin can play on this. The Aurelia would be some style, so going back to the tried and true on Camille instead.
Yeah, and I like the Camille over the Jace especially. Like, Jace is the kind of classic Gnar counter in the current meta. That's been the go-to to play against Gnar, at least in the LPL. But the Camille fits much better with the rest of the composition, right? A lot more all-in, a way to hard engage outside of just the Kalista Jarvan. So I quite like the Camille pick, but it also has a reasonable management to Gnar as well. So Bin should have a good time there. You can see him going for the Ignite TP as well. He knows that he can really push his advantage in that lane. And once again, it's going to be down to these junglers, SofM and Beishang, this time racing around the map on the horsey and the bear to see who can get their lanes ahead.
Who's going to be first to the party? Who's going to be the one to set the tempo of the game? But with Suning's draft, they are hard-inning on this mid-game pressure. The mid-game skirmishes that we saw in Game 1, they are doubling down what they did before, and they are throwing everything to try to win these fights.
We'll have to see what they've got in the tank to be able to do so. Suning now 1-0 down in this series. And I want to quickly point to the standings before we jump onto the Rift here. WE, if they can win another game here, will be tied for 2nd place. That's insane. They're currently in 6th place at 9-3. 2nd place is 10-3 for EDG and Rare Atom tied right now. WE can be in that conversation with a win here.
They can lock themselves into playoffs as well if they can get this 2-0 over Suning. But the drafts are an interesting one. All over the place for Suning, trying to find these early fights into Team WE. Well, WE, they have a bit of a safer backup plan. They can fall back onto scaling options. They can fall back onto these mid and bot lane duos to be able to carry them through. But we know between these two teams, that's not going to happen. They're going to fight early and they're going to fight fast.
You better believe they are. I can't wait to see what happens in this game. But I want to quickly revisit that topic I just brought up of WE in the standings, because there's a really important caveat to that statement. That yes, if they win here today, they'll be tying themselves for 2nd place. And I think they'll finish in like 3rd or 4th there based on tiebreakers. But importantly, when you look at WE's remaining schedule, they still have to face both EDG and Top Esports. A confident win here against Suning is necessary if you want to be looking at them favorably moving later on in their schedule.
Fair point. They want to be able to have it a little bit easier to guarantee themselves a higher seed in the standings, especially in the playoffs, with how it works and wanting to avoid as many matchups as humanly possible with Ben in this trade. Getting a pretty good one on Breathe, but Breathe at least playing it smartly, playing it safely, so he's not getting bullied out too bad.
So I want to talk quickly about this bot lane matchup because I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in Kalista Jarvan. But one thing I do know is that Thresh is real good into Jarvan by default, because if you time it right, you can flay the flag trap. So once again, a lot of this game for WE will be about protect Jiumeng, protect Shanks, right? Missing has to do so much work in that regard to stop on getting into the play. One thing that he can't stop with the play is the all-in at level 6 with the face call. Pretty good trades coming out from WE here in the lane, but the Rend turns that around.
I was about to say, like, they at least had a little bit of a trade, but look at the damage that can come in from Suning. They're looking for the 2v2 fight to get a kill. Almost got Jiumeng as well, but they have demolished this bot lane.
I feel like, I'm not sure if I saw that 100% correctly, but on there, threw his flank down, then waited a second before going for the knockup. Yep. So missing Flay too early. That was beautiful to see from On. Let's just remember, this is his rookie split. This is a brand new player. I want to take another closer look. So they hit the level 2 to start the play. Yeah, waits a second. So the Flay comes out first. On, you're an absolute legend, mate. That was beautiful.
Honestly, you gotta applaud that, because like you said, the patience to wait it out. So now this bot lane that wants to be able to win out early, you pick Kalista to be a bully, and Suning are going to have that as their default go-to in this bot lane to continue to get themselves into these mid-game skirmishes.
Fantastic start here for Suning, and a really, really good way to start that bottom lane, because we talked about the 2v2 being one of the most important parts of the map and getting the Kalista ahead. You have to expect Suning to focus on towards Drakes this game. They will have a lot of bot priority with this Kalista. They will have a lot of strength to go for those Drakes early on in the game, especially with SofM being on that Udyr. But they do have a massive wave crashing into them right now. Obviously, Drake not on the map just yet. On the side of WE, though, like, they're in no rush this game. No. They have a great teamfight composition. They have massive front line. They have 2 insanely good scaling carries in that of the Ryze and the Jinx. But also, it's not just about teamfight here. With a Gnar and a Ryze, WE actually have very good 1-3-1, where Azir, not as big of a fan of being off in the side lane. The big question is, who will be able to match up to Bin in a side lane later on into the game? And that will depend on if people are able to get ahead individually.
Right now, it's going to be a death sentence on. just trying to chip away at the health bar of Jiumeng so they can get some control in the spot lane. But I kind of want to go back to that point you were making about Ben, where this 2v2 fight was really exciting to watch, but we are always expecting it to be Ben to look for these sort of trades, try to be able to get an early snowball. And on Camille and Gnar, that is what we'd want to see, but so far hasn't been able to really get that foothold over Breathe to be able to try to find that solo kill just yet.
Yeah, not just yet, but I mean, Breathe is going to play that very safe on the Gnar. He does have the range advantage, so it's more waiting for a good opportunity on that Camille to be able to actually all in the Gnar. So waiting on the very edge of vision. That is beautiful from him. This is that opportunity.
Too. Gonna be able to get the bear slap they need to. There is no escape. Giving the kill over to SofM. It's an easy gank.
Really nicely done from SofM, but that's what I was talking about, right? It's not about the consistent win for Camille against the Gnar, especially when he's in mini Gnar, having the range advantage. You can just stay away. As long as he can dodge the stun, he's fine. But waiting for Breathe to overstep, then punishing extremely hard. SofM goes up to the top side once again and gets his top laner a lead.
No. Gearson, where Beishang is now going to try to get some pressure back for the team. They've been playing a lot around this bottom half of the map, and it seems like that is going to be the early gank. Trying to get the knockup. Nicely done by On to try to disengage. Realm Warp in behind from Shanks. Going to get a lot of damage onto On, sacrificing the support so Huanfeng can survive.
That's a 4-man play in the bottom side right there from WE. They commit very heavily to make it work, and they do eventually get a kill off the back of it, but the reset's coming on through. They won't be able to turn it straight into a Drake, unfortunately for them, which they would have liked to do with how much they committed down to the bottom side, but very nicely played by On. I'm really impressed by the Jarvan pick from On. Just jumping straight onto Beishang to deny the engage onto Huanfeng. Gets his AD carry out, who, by the way, Huanfeng, his flash is about to come off a cooldown. It was not available during that, so had On not found that knockup, Huanfeng likely goes down.
This is incredibly impressive. And look at this now. Rotating around to try to help SofM get another gank on the Beishang. Invading the jungle, but missing is nearby, but can't click the lantern, so they got a lot of damage on the Beishang. Having to be a bit careful because there could have been the rotation coming in from Shanks on the other side. So shifting sands from Angel to be able to escape, but they want to at least get something for this play. It's going to be a blue buff that is secured by SofM. It's going to be a hook followed up onto On, looking for the play, but not going to get the damage. On again, going to be the sacrifice so the rest of Suning can escape.
So On goes down for the play there, and it looked good that he was rotating up to try and help his jungler there, but steps a little too far forward. That was a little greedy from Suning, let's be honest, trying to get that blue buff. And they do get it, but in trade for a kill, and that immediately is no longer worth it for them.
No.
Beishang on the top side of the map will be clearing away. Interesting that neither of the teams are trying to force the dragon at this point in the game. I feel like Suning have the opportunity maybe to go for that now with Huanfeng on this Kalista, as Ben is almost diving.
Solo diving. Actually, continuing to dive with the ultimatum, tactical sweep, and slices him down. Solo kill for Vin.
I don't know what Breathe expected. He had no HP. Like, he was clearly trying to bait for Shanks, but you're mini Gnar. You don't get to do that at this point in the game. Really, really nicely done by Vin to punish him, but honestly, that was a huge misplay from Breathe to step up that far against a Camille that's literally just shown that he's looking for a kill on you. He was trying to dive you a second ago. I don't know why you're walking up that aggressively.
Right, and this is what we were talking about topside for Vin. I was like, hey, when's the solo gonna happen? Well, he listened. He was saying, all right, I know, Magical, that you want this to happen, so here you go. Breathe was too far up, and because now you don't have to worry about Gnar actually showing mid lane, no longer worrying about a TP play, having a bit of vision control, knowing that Shanks has to recall, they easily can secure themselves this objective that WE last game were so in control, despite the fact that there was a lot of skirmishes happening and Suning constantly trying to be able to battle back, aren't in that position to harass these turrets anymore.
So Suning, they grab that Drake for themselves. Nice start to the game. And across the board, this is looking good for Suning, right? 1,000 gold lead as well. And you've got that Kalista. So you expect the early advantages to be going the way of Suning. This is what they need to happen. Because later on in the game, against Jinx and a Ryze, it's going to be difficult. The one big thing in... Hang on, we got Beishang going on to Bin here.
Yeah, and SofM right there to be able to get a good trade of damage. Just a little bit of damage. Thought he'd try to go for a bit more since Breathe was so far back, but I think they're so worried about Shanks and his rotation. But continue your point that you're talking about.
I was just going to say that one thing that does go in favor of Suning when it comes to the late game is Azir, generally speaking, is going to be able to outrange the Ryze on the other side, so it can be a little bit difficult for Shanks to have as much free reign in those team fights as you would like. But realistically, again, I don't think Suning are actually going to be looking for 5v5 team fights in the late game. When you look at their composition, they don't have that massive front line. They're looking for short, bursty skirmishes. They're looking for picks, and they're looking for side lane pressure. So, it's very much a nice block. I don't know if that was a block from Angel, if he was just walking back to lane, but
either way, it
attempted
was nice.
Steal from Jiumeng. Oh, Captain Jack Cleanse right there from Huanfeng.
Good call to say we're not going to worry about this, since On was trying to get a bit of vision control around the mid lane. That way they don't have to worry about Shanks. Unlike normal Twisted Fate sort of plays, where it's a pretty easy time to be able to use that Destiny Gate to find ganks, Shanks is doing something similar with Ryze. It's a little bit more difficult. You have to go a little bit further, but I like that On is trying to secure control around Shanks so he can't ever make those plays.
Shanks is on a ward. He's been spotted, so he won't be able to go for a play towards the bottom side right here. You see the bot lane for Suning resetting. Oh, actually, they decide to stay in the end.
Yeah.
They are going to stick around, at least for now. Bin, though, getting very close to his first item complete here. It could be a Triforce or a... I've forgotten the name of the big green one. The one that you went for last.
Divine Tsundere?
Divine Tsundere, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
So could go for either. I'd expect the Divine Tsundere, to be honest, against the Hecarim and the Gnar, but if he's just looking to assassinate, it's possible to go Triforce, but I think Divine Tsundere really the option. Angel's in trouble.
Oh, nice! Emperor survived with the Onslaught of Shadows, trying to get a bit of damage. The flash coming in from Angel to be able to survive, but SofM in the middle of it all, trying to interrupt the Realm Warp. No escape, flashed instead. And now that Missing is here, it's a flash forward, not going to be able to get the death they needed to. So with 5 members committed, it's SofM keeping them alive, and they survive.
That was beautiful from Angel and SofM. 2v4 with a rocket coming across as well, and they managed to survive. Cheeky little sidestep from SofM at the end of the fight to dodge the hook from Missing as well. Very, very nice stuff from Suning. And again, when you manage to make these kinds of mechanical outplays elsewhere on the map, it just gives you space for the other lanes. You can see Huanfeng just pushing away by himself on the bottom side right there. He'll be able to just crash a huge wave, which Jiumeng should be able to just about arrive and collect in the end. But nice stuff regardless from Suning.
And this is actually a complete change of pace. I expected a lot more scrappy fights from this Suning roster, where their composition seems to want that. But WE aren't at least trying too much for it. They tried mid lane there, and it feels like they just can't actually get anything to stick onto the Suning side. Suning are just playing this map so smart and being so safe. Even though On's been picked off twice, it's been trying to keep him alive, though Huanfeng has to be careful. There is an attempt to dive, but keep in mind, here we go. Fate's Call, trying to keep the fight going. Had the ultimate into the backline with Cataclysm. Double knockup, and look who's running in bear form to try to show up. Jiumeng not going to be able to get the kill that he needed to on Huanfeng. Instead, it's the backline. Missing, fighting with SofM underneath the turret. On, wants to be able to get it, but Super Mega does work. Gets excited and finally dies to the flag, so it's a 2-for-1 trade.
Positive coming out for Suning in the end, but Jiumeng, he was just waiting for the cooldown of his Super Mega Death Rocket. Fires it out at the last possible second and gets the kill onto Huanfeng, trading it at least evenly there, or at least 1 for 2. But ultimately, still goes in favor of Suning, with Drake coming up in 5 seconds as well. You'd expect SofM to be able to just sprint it over there. Breathe just trying to hammer away on this top side turret. Doesn't have TP available. Neither top laner will be able to get involved in the potential dragon play, but you can see Beishang moving over to that portion of the map himself.
Trying to contest this. I'm wondering if Breathe, without that TP, is going to book it towards the dragon, but let's take a look at the Shriek play. Keep in mind, Cleanse isn't up yet for Huanfeng.
Yep, so gets caught up by the hook. Nice hook there from Missing. survives temporarily. I wasn't sure if On had just gone too deep for this one, but Suning, SofM, sorry, comes in from the side. Jiumeng, his ult is still on cooldown at this point. He's just waiting, buying as many seconds as he can. On doesn't realize this. On could have gone and just been like slamming him there, I think, but the rocket comes up in the end and manages to pick the kills. And nicely done there by Jiumeng. And getting those early kills on Jinx is such a crucial thing. You can see the plated steel caps as well coming out from Jiumeng, knowing that he does not need to be just insane maximum optimum DPS in these fights. He just has to survive what Huanfeng, what Bin, what SofM are throwing at.
Exactly, and with the help of that Conqueror as well, it's going to help out. But we'll see how it's going to do in a team fight. It's going to be a 4v4. Even with the TP behind, Breed does get that in time. And the Smite battle goes over to Beishang with SofM stepping too far forward. Needed to back out of that one. It wasn't your fight, even under the wall, under the Realm Warp, trying to see what they can get. Breed takes a lot of damage from the Angel. That was definitely a questionable gnarl.
Breathe, man. What is going on today? Breathe has had a few moments this series where I'm like, what is up with this guy? Like, he is a premium top laner. And, you know, WE paid top dollar to get him on the squad as well. He's had some exceptional series across the course of this split, but that flash Gnar was not it. A couple of the moments on this Gnar today have been a bit questionable, not really respecting the limits of the mini Gnar in a lot of situations. But, you know, it happens. I don't want to harp on it too much. The Triforce did come through for Ben in the end, not the Divine Sunderer there, but really, really great fight overall for WE. Finding another kill for Jiumeng, finding the situation, and even if the Gnar ult was a little questionable, they still get the Drake, they still win the fight.
Exactly, and that's the big thing, is they get the kill onto SofM as well, so they have a lot of pressure, but SofM, I do appreciate, never tries to relent. Breathe, unfortunately, the moment he steps up, even without the ability to be able to go mega, you gotta respect the fact that it's going to be that dive every time.
Yeah, Breathe doesn't get to do anything in that one. I'm not going to criticize him too much for that play, because the split second he steps out, he's just dead.
He's just
and I think realistically, the choice there was hope SofM's not there, try and clear the wave outside of the tower and maybe get away with it, or just leave, because if SofM is there, they're going to dive you regardless of whether you make the play. So either way, SofM grabs the Herald for himself and can use that towards the bottom side here, try and get some gold towards Jiumeng and open that map up. So not Jiumeng, sorry, towards Huanfeng. But whether or not he's going to be able to get down there and just slam it in the bottom lane, could go towards the mid lane either with this Herald. Interestingly, we see Angel with a Nash's Tooth first item on the Azir, just going straight into that attack speed. Quite often we're seeing a lot of Azirs these days just opt out of the Nash's Tooth entirely. It's a while since I've seen it as a first item.
Yeah, it is definitely an interesting option. I guess seeing that Shanks has already finished off that Everfrost, just wanting to be able to have that capability for a little bit more extended trade damage, feeling that you're going to be rooted for a long time. But I'll be honest too, I'm not the best analyst when it comes to that kind of thing. I am a bit surprised that it's not, you know, either the Luden Tempest or what normally is taking that Landry's Anguish to be able to get a lot more damage in the trades, but Huanfeng taking a lot of damage even with the help of the Immortal Shield Bow to try to survive against Jiumeng. It's not going to be the easiest time now that Kraken Slayer is already online for Jinx.
Yeah, I mean, in a 1v1, it's still very, very Huanfeng favored at this point in the game, but it's not been a 1v1, right? It was a 2v2 in the bot side, and that one was a 2v1. Here we go, going for the dive.
Having the shield, got to be careful, trying to get the tap, but dodged away by Huanfeng to be able to survive, not have to worry about too much damage. I was a bit surprised they tried to go underneath the turret, since SofM is nowhere nearby. Sure, maybe they can have a TP from Bin to try to keep these extended fights and these skirmishes going, since that is what Suning built this composition for, right? They want to have these scrappy fights early on.
Yeah, and I feel like this fight in a minute and a half for Mount Drake is going to be a very important moment in the game for Suning. If there are any Suning fans out there listening, you got to be looking at that Drake fight, or maybe an opportunity onto Breathe in the top side right now. Angel with the Empress Divine. Oh, man.
You know,
that ain't it.
No, it's not, but I guess it's okay for now, since they're going to just back off of it anyways. They don't lose anything too much, just the ult. Trying to make Breathe feel a bit better is what I'm thinking. saying, hey, Breathe, I understand that you didn't have the best ult. Oh, it's okay, buddy. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Missing ults in solidarity. I respect it. Yeah, unfortunate ult from Angel. Not the end of the world, though. He's going to TP. Recall denied on Huanfeng. Nice little rocket there from Jiumeng. Important because it's 30 seconds until the Drake. This means Huanfeng doesn't get to reset before the Drake comes up. WE have moved up towards the top side, so they will be foregoing this Drake. They will be just allowing Suning to grab this next Drake, but they're saying, look, we're going to trade it for a top tower. We're going to stop Huanfeng being able to rotate and answer on the top side at all anyway. So now you have to trade. You have to play the macro game against us.
Plus, it's Jiumeng getting solo gold on this top turret, while bot lane, Huanfeng called in on to help out a bit more to be able to get that attack speed with the flag to kind of take it down as quickly as possible so they can then turn for a possible contest around Dragon. But WE are just saying, we don't really care. We're going to hold on to the top side instead, get a lot of gold, keep Ben pinned in the top side so that we don't have to worry about anything.
So Drake will go the way of Suning, although I say that, Beishang could look for a steal. He doesn't have vision right now, so I don't think there's any way for him to just ult over and steal this one. Does go the way of Suning. So importantly, that Drake is going to be going their way, and it's a Mountain Soul as well. So that is a win condition for Suning. Even though they have this Kalista that will fall off, having the Drake starting to stack up is very much in their favor. The problem is, like, across the board, scaling, I feel like, goes the way of WE, but the Camille is the part of that equation that I'm not 100% sure on. It depends how they're able to pressure in the side lane.
I think I've realized why the Nashor's Tooth is built by Angel first. And it all comes down to Baron. If you look at both Azir and Kalista, they're really good at securing an objective like Baron. If you leave them with any time alone, Azir is going to shred through that, right? And Kalista is a secondary smite. So if they're both of them on top of that, you can send those two alone to the objective, and you should be able to get it.
I do feel like Leandri's would be the better Baron taking item, though.
I'm just trying to theorize, man.
I get where you're coming from. I appreciate that, but I feel like Leandri's is the Baron taking item for,
so
AP mid laners.
I'm just trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying to help him. All right, but let's turn over to the gold instead, because there is a pretty good lead right now for Suning. About 3,000 gold over WE. You've been able to see that a lot in the items. A lot of that is onto Bin and Huanfeng. Well, Jiumeng is not too far behind at least, so they're able to keep the two carries in a good, proper position with one another, which is unfortunate for Suning.
Yeah, it does make it quite difficult for Suning to operate in this game. And, you know, this is the point of the game where I would turn to my color caster and ask him to explain the intricacies of the way these two compositions work and what I should be expecting moving forward in the game. But unfortunately, I am the color caster in this game. So that makes it very difficult for me to throw to my color caster at this point. So instead, I'm going to look towards the Baron. Because Suning are clearing away vision here. As you rightly said, they burn through a Baron real quick. There's no dragon on the other side of the map. And this is where Bin comes in, right? Huge split push pressure from this Camille is something that Breathe won't very proactively be able to deal with.
No, and if he steps too far forward without that hop, you know that Bin is going to try to solo kill him. This build is meant for the 1v1 fight, the split push capability that Camille can always default back to, especially when ahead like this.
Yeah, and one of the really nice things as well about the Camille is that you're so safe. That's what makes her such a great split push. Obviously, with the Triforce and the Hydra as well now, you are going to be able to push those waves so incredibly quickly. And if you're left alone with a tower, you'll annihilate it in seconds. But also, with the hook shot, with a flash up as well, like, you can so easily escape those side lane situations. If Beishang does happen to run down, there's a lot of situations where you can just use your Hex Deck Ultimated, dodge the initial engage, then hook shot out, flash if you need to. You're halfway across the map already.
So looking at the two compositions, I feel like Team WE is the easier one to dissect. It's pretty straightforward team fight composition. We've seen these used pretty often, even though Ryze is the more niche pick, the one that's not picked as often. It's still fills a similar role that you see with more control mages, where he is the control mage that fits better in a side lane as well.
You can feel the pressure that WE are under right now, where they're using Jiumeng's Jinx rocket just to check if Baron is even happening. Suning playing with vision. The engage, though.
Pulled back with Fate's Call, but that is a big cooldown burn. With On taken pretty low, they need to be able to use them to engage these fights. That's why you go for that Zhonya's rush. You want to be able to get Cataclysm onto Jiumeng so that Jinx is locked down, not going to be able to escape. And without that easy engage tool of Fate's Call, it's going to be a bit easier for WE to find the proper fights they need to.
Azir turret down in the mid lane. This could be an opportunity for WE here, because Breathe is about to turn Mega. Maybe a TP opportunity, but it doesn't look like there's going to be a window. 40 seconds on the Drake. That's what we got to look at next. Keep your eyes on Jiumeng in these upcoming fights, because he's hitting 2.5 items at this point. Jiumeng is going to be doing massive damage. Huanfeng needs to be cautious, needs to be protected by his team during these fights, but also they need to step forward and get damage done.
Right now, it seems Suning have full control of the river. Look at where the vision line has been placed down for them. They have control of both top and bot side, pushing so far into Beishang that they're going to be spotted at every moment that they step into their own jungle.
It's so incredibly hard to face check in this kind of game, especially when the stakes are so high, right? We talked about the standings. We talked about how much this win means for both teams. For WE, it's a ticket into the top 4. For Suning, it's a ticket to playoffs as an entire thing. Drake on the cards, though. Both junglers want to get in here.
Trying to kill Beishang. He's going to be able to get the lantern to be able to escape and get over the wall, but now the dragon's so low. Super Mega Death Rocket steals it away, denying that soul point that would have been critical for Suning.
So clutch from Jiumeng to be able to get that rocket in and take the dragon away. That would have been soul point, as you rightly point out. WE deny it. Now, our focus can move up towards the top side of the map. Bin waiting for his opportunity. Shanks is down here as well as Breathe.
Oh, he's baiting him in. Angel's behind, saying, oh, I'm all by myself. Oh, no, woe with me. Please don't. But now that they saw the pony on the other side, they're like, okay, wait a minute. Maybe not actually looking for this fight.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised to see Suning trying to play towards the bot side. Like, here's the thing. We talked about how they can pressure on this Baron. I don't really get why Suning haven't just started the Baron. We saw that WE had no idea whether it was happening or not. We saw Jiumeng ulting blindly at the Baron to just look for either a blind steal or just to scout it out at all. I feel like Suning have had opportunity to just try and brute force that play. You've got a Kalista, you've got an Azir, you burned through that incredibly well, but also slowly but surely Jiumeng is coming further and further into this game. You've got this Ryze that you're going to have to deal with. You don't really need to pull the trigger on a play like that.
And taking a look at this replay, I feel like it was a bit of a mistake from Suning to start that entire thing on. Huanfeng had been wailing away, had a lot of spears, and disengaged, so they lost that secondary smite that I was talking about. Why you have Kalista for those objectives is Rend, to be able to secure that just in case smite's not enough.
Yeah, it's twofold in that, on the one hand, obviously Kalista very good because of the Rend. Like, obviously that goes without saying that in those kind of situations, having the burst damage on the objective is fantastic. But one thing that I think people often misunderstand about Kalista is that fighting for Drake those are the kind of team fights that Kalista likes. In the meantime, though, forget about Kalista. We got a Baron, started off. WE have to answer here. They have to face check in and find a way to stop this.
SofM wanted to be able to start it off, but into the back line on goes, dies, and they do get the pick on Jiumeng, but they have to be careful. They got a lot of damage on a missing. Try to see who else they can get. SofM having to flash away to be able to survive. They're getting away from the fight as far as they can, but they're getting chased down by the Pony Express with the Realm Warp on the other side, but at least they got the cleanse from Huanfeng to get a lot of damage onto WE, but now they are off of the Baron. The fight did not go the way they wanted. Bin got blown up at the beginning.
WE able to start the fight off beautifully, able to do that. And flash ult from Breathe this time, it was to try and save the play. I like what I'm saying here from WE, not allowing Suning to just go for that Baron, making sure to stop the play happening before it can turn into anything too sinister. And again, Suning, it feels like even though they have this small gold lead, it feels like this is slowly but surely getting away from them. It doesn't feel like they know exactly how to make this play happen. What is that TP?
It was an escape TP. That's what happened. On accidentally, Zonia's at the very beginning. On Shanks, we see on the other monitor, does get the TP interrupted, so he dies. That probably is going to be Baron, but looking at this play really quick.
I'm not going to lie, I'm more interested in the Baron than I am in this play, but let's take a look. Jiumeng misses the flash here, gets absolutely slammed on, and yeah, the Baron started up. WE have to contest this. Keep your eyes on Beishang. Can he get the steal?
Huanfeng has a lot on that, though. He's going to be able to rend, and unfortunately, Beishang, he's trying to his damnedest to be able to fight back. Fate's Skull going to make sure that they don't lose on, and they can re-engage if they need to. Jiumeng getting a lot of damage on Angel. He has to go gold and be able to survive. Breathe is about to go Mega, waiting for that jump in. Going to be able to get the slam down onto SofM. Huanfeng not able to do what he needs to, and they're getting chased down. Excited, Jiumeng. He takes down Suning. Only 2 members survive.
Jiumeng comes up clutch on the Jinx, the team fight AD carry. He got his 3 items, he finished his Infinity Edge, and he blasts the lineup of Suning in that team fight. Drake coming up in 40 seconds as well. It's just going to be the tier 1 for now, but importantly, killing almost everyone that got the Baron. Bin's still going to be a benefactor here. Suning did still get the Baron at the end of the day, but huge turnaround for WE to be able to win that fight. The TP denied by Angel.
Barely.
Beautiful stuff from the mid laner from Suning.
I like that. He flashed for the shifting sands to make sure that he could get the Emperor's Divide. But going back to that entire play, Team WE were fighting 4v5 to try to see if they could at least get a couple members from Suning. They knew the Baron was more than likely going to go their way. Huanfeng was on it for so long. Ooh, on though, getting picked like this could be bad. Was able to get saved by SofM, but it's the Dragon that's up on the docket for Team WE, and they can burn that down pretty quickly.
Yeah, easy pickup here for WE. They just muscle their way in. And Suning, they're a bit late to the party. And we're getting to the point now where Kalista, 3-4 items is not really her strongest part. Kalista, you want to be fighting on 2 items. Jinx is well and truly the stronger AD carry at this point. Game, that hook is huge.
On goes Golden to be able to survive, but he's dead. Even with the Cataclysm, you know that he is a sucker left out to dry, and they have to bail out of the fight. And unfortunately, that's another Baron buff gone.
This is getting real scary for Suning now. They have 1 Baron buff. The Baron power play currently is at minus 550 gold. Not ideal, it has to be said. The slight silver lining for Suning is that at least their Baron buff is on the Camille, right? At least Bin can use that to pressure in the side lane. Maybe he can get a tier 2 here, but I don't know. You're just going to be trading towers on the opposite side of the map anyway, so it doesn't feel like a play that you can actively use aggressively. TP from Bin. Here we go. Suning want to make a pick.
Deep TP. Looking for Beishang. Runs right into the pony. Has to be careful. Hook shot over the wall. Jiumeng is far enough away to stay safe from Suning and going to be able to have that kite back to survive easily.
And that is so huge now. Suning mess up the TP play, and here's the thing. Here's the advantage I was just saying, right? Bin has the Baron. He's the split pusher. He can put side lane pressure on. Maybe that's the way that they can find a way into this game. Not without TP, they can't. If TP is down, it means that Bin is guaranteed not a part of the fight unless he stood with the team. The split push pressure is removed off the back of that play from Suning. Now WE, all they have to do is just play the map smart, stay grouped when the objectives are coming up, which isn't for another 3 minutes. Set up these side lanes, go for the 1-3-1. You've got a Gnar and a Ryze. WE can quite happily go for a 1-3-1 at this point, set up these lanes, and just begin to siege.
It seems that WE are doing exactly that. They're playing this one nice, calm, patient. It's a great adaptation from this team. Where last game, game 1, Scrappy, they had a kill a minute, constantly looking to see if they can battle against Suning. Where Suning have tried to do stuff like that this game. They've looked for some plays, but they got stopped by WE and have been struggling to find that exact pick they wanted to be able to get. And now we're in that position that you were just talking about, Munch, where Huanfeng on this Kalista is not nearly as scary as Jiumeng is on that Jinx with the Guardians. Angel completed Last Whisper as well. She's going to eviscerate Suning.
Yeah, I mean, 4.5 items 5, I guess, if you include the boots. Jiumeng is monstrously huge. Same for Huanfeng, you know, he does have that Rage Blade now, but realistically, the 4-item spike for Kalista, not even remotely close to that of Jinx.
Exactly.
And Shanks as well. We've not really talked about Shanks that much. Feels like he's been very quiet this game. Same for Angel, really. Angel's had some big ults, but Shanks, he's on 3 items himself. He's a Ryze. We've not really talked about the ridiculous damage potential of a Ryze. Angel tries to get away.
Shadows gets the Fate's Call and Breathe is nearby. He wants to be able to get the Mega Gnar ult, but really, that is just going to be WE forcing away Suning once more. Jump in, gets the golden out of Angel with the ultimatum onto Breathe to try to lock him in place, but they're going to be able to pull him back and get him to go golden to be able to survive, but you know that he's going to die the moment he's up, even with a hook shot to be able to get over the wall. They have to have the flash, and they immediately kill on for it, so Ben might survive, but they've lost that engage potential, and this is WE continuing to dominate this map.
Bin survives, but On goes down anyway. This will be, at very least, 1 tower going the way of WE. But Baron's up in 30 seconds as well. They can push towards this inhib, then transition straight towards the Baron. On's still not in front of the 20 seconds. SofM looking for a flank here.
Trying to be able to get near this backline, but look at Breeze, look at Beishang. They're keeping him away so they can take themselves an inhibitor, and Jiumeng is able to play so far forward because they don't have to worry about that Udyr anymore.
And SofM here.
Oh, he gets picked too, flashed away. Vin's nearby, but unfortunately, SofM needed to just realize to back out of that completely.
And that is the worst possible player to go down if you're a fan of Suning. That is WE now guaranteeing the Baron, short of some kind of miracle from a player on the side of Suning. They've got to just brute force a 4v5 fight here. Everything is in favor of WE, and Missing finds a hook.
Oh, they're just going for the fight on WE. They know that they can win this one pretty convincingly. Ben is not able to assassinate the backline, but there is still a lot of damage on Breathe. Angel's going to be able to take him down. Missing might be the next target, but now you got Jiumeng excited. Got the knock-up they need to. Going to be able to pop the Guardian's Angel with Huanfeng getting a lot of damage, but he's hooked with the Death Sentence.
Oh,
the Flay as well, taking him down, and that is WE getting the ace that they need nearly. Only Ben's alive, but he's not going to be able to fight back against WE. Not when they control the map, and there is a Dragon for Soul available.
That hook from Missing just won WE the game right here. TP comes in, the fight continues.
WE, why are you continuing this? I guess if you have excited, you're going to be able to. Wow, they turned it right into the face of Suning. Realm or Ben, that is them getting the 2-0 over Suning. I thought that they had made a mistake, but man, does Jiumeng know the limits of Jinx.
They managed to take this in a clean end to the game. Beautiful decision-making coming out from WE in the end. And that hook from Missing, when the Zhonya's is in play for Shanks, when Jiumeng is in his GA, Missing lands the hook on the last remaining carry in Huanfeng. He's stunned up, he's taken down, and that's the moment that WE pounce. They charge it down the mid lane, they win out the final fight, and they take themselves a 2-0 and tie the standings as our 3rd team now at the top of the table on 10-3. It's RNG in first place, and then we have EDG, Rare Atom, and WE all on 10-3.
And that gets them secured for playoffs as well. What a victory for Team WE. We even talked about how going into Suning, it's a very similar type of team, wanting to be scrappy, wanting to find this mid-game pressure. But in Game 2, Team WE flipped the script. They drafted to be able to scale if they needed to. Jiumeng on Jinx. You talked about Shanks on this Ryze as well, to be that other option, to be able to get them so much damage that Suning could never actually fight back into them. They couldn't even assassinate Jiumeng no matter how hard they tried.
Yeah, it was so incredibly difficult to get onto Jiumeng, especially in those late game fights when he has the GA as well. That GA was so crucial in the final fight, keeps him alive, and again, you got to give all the praise to Missing in that final fight. That singular hook turned everything on its head. But I appreciate the playmaking from Suning. I appreciate that they were trying to just force these fights because, let's be honest, they were running out of options at that point in the game. But again, it felt like a lot of this game, especially the early game, was too slow from Suning. We needed to see this decisive play earlier on. They had the Kalista. They could play through the strength of the bottom lane, try and force those dragons, try and force more plays around that portion of the map. But I mean, the first strike wasn't even taken until like 10, 11 minutes into the game. I feel like we just needed a faster pace across the board here from Suning. The decision-making wasn't really there in the early game, and it ended up biting them later on.
Yeah, they drafted for an early game, mid-game comp, and unfortunately, even after getting a solo kill for Ben, having the 2v2 bot lane that was working so well for them immediately out of the gates, they never really accelerated the gas from there. They kind of let off a bit, and that gave WE enough time to breathe in that game and be able to relax, go back to the drawing board, and then figure out what they needed to do to be able to fight back.
Yeah, really, really good stuff from WE. Really controlled gameplay from WE as well. Feels good to see this version of WE where, honestly, Breathe didn't have a good day today, but it didn't matter too much, right?
No.
Breathe got caught out a couple of times on this Gnar. Bin, I feel like, was the better of our two top laners in this matchup. But again, Breathe was being put on the... certainly in the second game, a more defensive pick. In the first game, he had the counter pick, and after the crazy fights that we saw early on, managed to get a lead, but it was kind of out of the hands of the individual players there. In the second game, though, Bin managed to find an individual lead, but it's not enough to put the pressure on. The 2v2 not working out. Like the Jarvan pick with the Kalista, I like the creativity there.
I do too.
I like it on paper, but I just feel like a normal hard engaged support, like Leona was available here, Nautilus was available here. I think just going for a normal hard engaged support, maybe even going with something like a Jin from Huanfeng. Like maybe just go back to what was comfortable for Suning in the past. Like you don't have to play this super aggressive pick in that of the Kalista.
Yeah, it seems that they just weren't able to execute how they needed to, but like we said with WE, they have this composition that's a bit easier, and Breed defaulting it back to, I wouldn't say exactly a tank, but a safer pick that can really work well in these team fights. I almost feel like this might be the death of a lot of these fun top-side matchups where you're trying to have these 1v1 carries, and we're starting to see more often than not everyone defaulting over to tanks, defaulting over to something that's going to be able to provide more for team fights.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun matchup to get to watch these two go head-to-head, but I think you're right that the meta is definitely shifting towards things like the Scion especially has been a really highlight pick recently. But there is definitely space for carries, especially in the LPL. We still see a ton of Jace. We're seeing Camille today, but Gangplank has been a really good answer to some of these tanks. We mentioned it before, how Gangplank can essentially just have a free lane against champions like the Scion, scale up really nicely, be able to influence the other lanes without ever leaving the top lane as well. So there are picks available if you want to carry top laner. You can opt out of having that tank, but it does mean you have to play the game in a different style later on. So it's down to whether or not these teams are capable of playing these different styles.
And that's one thing I gotta say I love from WE. They've proven that they can play both styles. They can have Breathe on something that can carry, but they can also default back to something that's providing more for team fights. This gives them so much more versatility when it goes to how they want to be able to play, especially looking towards playoffs. And WE wanting to contest for as high of a seed as humanly possible, well, getting a 2-0 like this over Suning that have a normal on paper where we look at them trying to play around mid-game normally, WE proved that they don't have to just default back to that.
Yeah, WE showing that they have late-game prowess as well, right? And I think a key thing for WE here is that they feel like they're on the same page. When we saw the plays from both teams, honestly, it felt like communication was good. It didn't feel like we had random players being on different pages comparatively to their teams like we did in the first series today. It felt like both teams were playing as a team, but WE managing to do a much better job of that. And when you think about WE, with like Jiumeng and Missing moving around together with the triple threat now style of roster that they have with Breathe in the top lane and Shanks in the mid lane, it feels like this is a team that is going to be good at that 5v5 style, especially if we get to a meta where front-to-back team fight is kind of the mainstay. I feel like WE is inevitably going to be a terrifying team to go up against.
Honestly, I'm excited to see how they're going to play in the playoffs, especially since they've been on a tear. It's like Rare Adam. They're an exciting team to watch, and see them succeed the way they are. I'm so happy for both of them. But let's talk about Suning a bit, because with this loss, that puts them at 7-6 now in the standings. I think they're tied now with LNG. They're only one game up between both Invictus and Billy. There is a chance, there's a small chance that they might not make playoffs if they can't figure out how they need to adapt towards the meta or be able to close out when they have an early game comp like this.
Yeah, it does feel like Suning will have to really fall from grace to not make playoffs at this point, because one of the weird things about our schedule is Suning still have 3 more series to go, but importantly, when you look at their schedule, they have LNG, which... Yeah, I'm still leaning towards Suning there. It's kind of hard to call, honestly, with how good WE looked today. That one is going to be an important matchup. But then Suning, you expect to be a favorite over BLG. You expect them to be E-Star as well. So I would say that Suning should still very much be in a shoe-in for playoffs. But as you rightly say, if they're not getting these wins, that's not an easy statement to make.
Exactly. But let's turn it again once more. Let's flip the script and start talking about MVP. And I thought it was going to be Jiumeng on that Jinx. Just usually that's how it goes. You see damage charts, you see KDAs. But I'm glad it goes to missing. You talked about that crucial hook that won that final fight.
And also, just throughout the entire game, he was consistently in the right place at the right time. But his dark passages were so beautiful, so consistently to pull his carries to the right position. This is one of the things that Thresh brings that pretty much no other support, aside from maybe Tahm Kench, offers, is the repositioning of other players. Being able to make sure that your carries are always in the right spot in the fights, being able to add mobility to your team when it comes to getting around the map as well, being able to pull things like a Hecarim, for example. He has no way to get over walls, but when you're playing with a Thresh, he does. So missing one of the players in the league that gets the most value out of this pick, you can see in some of these fights just doing such a great job to peel for his team.
Right, and that's what I want to keep an eye on, are the dark passages as well as the death sentences. Like there, getting Angel to go golden so quickly, so now it's an easy target.
Yeah, and it just sets up Jiumeng to go crazy in these fights. Once missing plays bouncer for the majority of the fight, then Jiumeng can just pop off. I believe this is the last fight of the game where we saw it all going a bit crazy. And you keep your eyes on Jiumeng, right? He's about to go into his GA. You see Shanks go golden as well. Look at this hook.
Wow.
Straight on towards Huanfeng. Takes him out of the fight. Saves the game. If that hook doesn't land onto Huanfeng, Huanfeng can turn that fight around. He can maybe kill both carries with a Rend and finish off the game. Maybe not finish off the game, but get Suning back into the game. That hook won WE the game and the series.
It really did, because then they pushed down mid. I was expecting them to just try to push in the minions and then peel off for the soul, but they opted in and said, they're like, no, we can win the game. We got this 2-0 for them. Well done for Team WE, securing playoffs